and welcome back to In My Hometown, where Pascal and I have golden and not so golden era conversations about reinvention, relationships, dating, health, pretty much everything under the sun. And today we have Nicki Perchik, who's joining us for our conversation today. She founded an executive search firm, a boutique executive search firm about 18 plus years ago, where she's been navigating, helping people navigate their job search. She is an author of a book on that subject, and then an author of a new book, which we're going to talk about. And we are so happy you're here today.
Thanks.
Welcome.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
You know Pascal from being around the town, so to speak, in our hometown. We know each other, full disclosure. We went to high school together, same year. And, you know.
Way back when.
We were just talking, we were on the POM squad there. And Good times. So we're so happy that you're here.
Thank you.
I love your story. I love, we reconnected, and I just, first of all, love this topic of the job search, right? The job market and what's going on. And we have kids that are, either coming out of school or have just come out of college, as do you. And everyone is really interested in how you get a job and all of that. So I'm sure you have a lot to share on that. And then this idea of a career pivot that you've taken, or a career sort of, like you said, pause to do something else. So let's talk to us a little bit about this, how you got started in executive search.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
where should we go back to?
Right.
Right.
Way back when. So I started an executive search firm, as you said, 18 plus years ago. I have always been a networker. So in my corporate job, which I'm sure you both have experienced, where people just pull you aside and ask you, hey, do you know I was selling large payroll systems for ADP? And people would say, do you have like an IT person you can recommend? And so you'd start just helping people get jobs.
Have you always been a connector? You've always been a connector. Okay.
Correct.
Yeah.
Networking is key, right?
Yes.
And that's something we're going to talk about.
Yes.
And so I decided to start a search firm because why not? Wanted to work for myself, and it took off.
Yes. Right.
Yeah. So I have the honor and privilege of helping hundreds of companies at this point hire thousands of people, really across every industry, across every functional area. A lot of people we worked with historically were pretty seasoned executives.
Got it.
So much of what we did was focused on much of what we do. Yes. Right. So
yeah,
I would say like people making over 150, but now that we're getting older, not too old.
So when is the people start hiring you in the middle of their career? I know that my son just graduated from college in May, and then it took him about 6 months to find a job. He went to a lot of interviews, no response, not even the courtesy, thank you, but you don't fit the bills.
Right.
And finally he's got some time. But he's young, he's 23 years old.
Right.
And as we live longer, as you know that, we have tendency to change career 2-3 times during our lifetime. Right. So what would you say is the age where people start looking at themselves and saying, you know what, I'm not really happy with what I do. What should I do? When can I look? But I'm afraid to leave what I got. I don't know what is there. So what age do you think that question comes to the person who's looking for something else?
Well, there's no like specific age. So first of all, let me just clarify. As an executive recruiter, we're hired by companies. Okay. So people don't hire us, which is part of the reason why I wrote the book I wrote.
Yes.
Because so many professionals come to us seeking our guidance and counsel. And the reality is we're paid by companies to hire for specific roles. So for example, let's say you needed a head of marketing. You would come to my search firm and you would say, Nicki, we need a head of marketing. We're going to pay $150 to $200. Here's the type of person we're looking for. Here's the type of work they're going to be working on. And we'd be responsible for 24/7 going out, interviewing candidates, finding the right people, presenting that slate of candidates to you and then helping hold your hand in the candidate's hand throughout the process. But at the same time, professionals come to us and they're like, hey, can you help? Can you talk to us? Can you guide me? And the challenge is a lot of professionals don't realize we don't have time for that. That's not how we make our money. That's not our job, right? Mm-hmm. So I wrote this book to really help offer to professionals a way to get all of the advice I give to professionals as I'm guiding them through an interview process for your head of marketing. Right. And that way they have access to all of the tips and pointers to help them with their job search. Okay. So I wrote that book to give them an option. But to
what's
your
the name
point,
of the book? Could you just show it in?
So the book is A Recruiter's Truly Simple Guide to Stop Effing Up When Job Searching and Interviewing. Mm-hmm. And the reason I put the swear word in, even though in the book there's a chapter called Don't Swear, is because
my mom will like that, I swear.
Because not enough professionals take the time to prepare for interviews. Mm-hmm. They think, especially the people we worked with, hey, I've been in the work world for 20 years. I've climbed the ladder. I've been successful. Yeah. They think I'm good. I don't need to practice or prepare. And the reality is they do. And so try to get their attention through a creative book title name. The mistakes people make are they're so simple to fix. A lot of the mistakes. So your son coming out of school doesn't necessarily have the same experiences that we have. Yeah. But people are shooting themselves in the foot. People are making simple mistakes that are easy to fix. And again, the tips are in here. Okay. Yeah. As far as when career pivots happen, a lot of times it's either people aren't getting fulfilled by what they're doing, right? In today's work world, we are working 24/7, 365. Mm-hmm. We have cell phones, emails coming at us all day, texts, Slacks, whatever. And people don't get to unplug. And so a lot of times people burn out. Mm-hmm. They're not getting the satisfaction in what they want to do. Mm-hmm. And so sometimes they're reevaluating, right? For many people, it's not about the money. Mm-hmm. It's about the...
My father said it's not about the money, it's about the money.
Well...
Period. Okay, it's always about the money. Somebody's not going to do a job who's making $100,000 to get a job at $70,000. It's always about the money.
There's trade-offs, Pascal. You'd be surprised, because I help people with this all the time. There's trade-offs. Some people making $100,000 never get a vacation. They never get a day off. They go to an office every day. For $70,000, they might have vacation, much more protected. They might be able to work from home.
I think the new generation too are sort of more into. I mean, each generation has its own thing, and so I think what I have read is that Gen Z, that's now the generation, they're very into purpose, and purpose trumps money. So for them, they want, to be at a job that they feel that they're doing something and that they're sort of on the right side. So I hear you on the money, and I think from our mindset, a lot of time,
generation,
that's what it is. Certainly that. I think too so I love that it's sort of set up as a tool guide and all of the tips that you said you could use, because I do think that. The preparation is something that has fallen to the wayside a little bit. I think that sometimes our kids feel like, and I'm just saying our kids in general, I'm not speaking to my children. They don't want to listen to this and be very upset with me. But I think our kids in general just feel like they can wing things, or that I have an interview and it's just with the HR person, so I don't really need to prepare because they're probably not going to ask me some specifics about the role. But that's not the case.
Oh my gosh, it is not the case at all. And preparation is everything. So I use sports as my analogy all the time. There's no professional athlete that doesn't show up early, practice, prepare. There's no professional athlete that doesn't have a coach or multiple coaches. and the amount of time and energy invested in getting ready for every single game, even if it's not an important game, right? So I cannot stress enough. And now that we're older and our kids and our friends' kids are looking for jobs, the silly mistakes people make, and in this job market where things are so tight, you cannot make a stupid mistake. Yet we're all human. We all do. So
what are some of the stupid mistakes?
Oh my gosh, there's so many. Okay, so literally we could do an episode. We could do an episode on every single chapter in this book. Okay, so things like not networking, not using a network. There's, let's go back to as an adult, you think you've got your network set, but you wake up 5 years into a job, maybe you get let go, maybe you're not happy, you haven't connected on your network, you haven't kept it up. It's so important to keep up a network,
but
right?
you're talking the network for somebody who already has a job, already has been in the market for a few years. Let's just talk a little bit more the Gen Z generation, because obviously that's what it's about, okay?
Right.
The Gen Z generation, as my son generation, my son must have signed about 750 resumes. And to be quite honest with you, I find it very disrespectful for the company to not say thank you, but thank you, but the position's about thank you, but thank you, you're not qualified for that position, but you couldn't find not even a response to it.
I agree.
When you take a young kid like my son who graduated from Kelly School of Business with a good degrees, business degree in Kelly, and go into the working field and send in resume, and all of a sudden I see my son's behavior and attitude being depressed, have the anxiety, say, Dad, I can't find a job. Dad, look, they don't respond. Dad, what am I going to do? Dad. I mean, to be quite honest with you, and most of them has the audacity to say, you don't have any experience. How the hell am I going to get an experience if you don't open the door for me?
Right.
Let me sweep the floor, pick up the coffee, go fill up the mail to get that experience I needed.
It's that age-old thing where you can't get something without something. Right.
Yeah. And then you go, okay, so now that's my son generation. Finally, he got a job because of the connection and the network I had. I was able to connect him to the right people. And he's got a job, started very low, very happy with that. He's working his way to it. But now then we talk about the 15 years down the road, 20 years down the road. I've been doing the same thing and, I'm not happy. So you as a recruiter, okay, are you going to steal me from my company to a job with somebody who hire you to find a guy who's qualified like me? You follow me what I'm saying? I work for a high-tech company. I'm in the how you call it, logistic, or I'm in the computer programming and stuff like that. And, I'm not unhappy. I'm happy. And then you have a client of yours who call you and say, hey, look, I need a computer programmist. Do you know anybody? Because we need it. Are you going to call me from my company? So basically, you're going to steal me from the company I've been working. It is stealing.
No,
people are listening to this.
It's not stealing.
Okay, but it's basically soliciting somebody. Like, I wouldn't want anybody to call my business and recruit my stylist, and which should happen, and offer them more money and put me in the band because I lost a couple of my stylists. I've been into that situation.
Well, it's your job to keep your stylist happy.
You know what? Money talk, bullshit walk. Period.
Here's the thing. Okay, let's take a step back really quick because you touched two things. So first of all, Kelly, go IU. I'm an IU grad myself.
Okay, congratulations.
I cannot tell you how poorly prepared graduates are and how angry it makes me because we spend as parents hundreds of thousands to get our kids. These educations and these schools are supposed to please help my kid get a job when they graduate. That should be their number one.
One quick thing, okay? My son's been working in a job for about 3 weeks, and he said to me, Dad, I've learned more in 3 weeks in my job than I learned in 4 years in college. Why did I go to college? Okay, good. Get back to
very fair question. But I cannot tell you how many parents have hired us. So people can hire us to help coach their kids to get ready.
Okay, yeah,
okay? So that's
cool.
something that we spend a ton of time doing because these schools are not preparing. I have talked to so many universities and said, let us come in. Your kids have zero skills. They're so poorly prepared, and they are extremely averse to that. I don't know if it's because they don't want to admit that they've done a poor job, but I just spent 2 hours last week with one of my older son's friends at school, okay, helping him. He said, in 2 hours, I learned more from you than I did in probably 20 hours with the Career Placement Center. So things like, again, let's go to the networking. He said, both my parents are in healthcare. They don't know finance. They can't help me. I said, of course they can. Of course they can. Your parents have friends. There's finance in every industry. So we talked through, okay, here's how you're going to look at that. Here's how you're going to leverage your parents' network. You have a network through the jobs you've held, whether it's for me, babysitting, or for him, he coached part-time in summer.
So that should be a starting point where you make almost a list of all the people that you know in a certain industry or other things.
Absolutely.
Agree. Yes.
And then you have to reach out to them, and someone like me can help you figure out, how do you craft that note, right? What do you say? Going back to your son, sending out hundreds of resumes, a huge mistake so many people make is they think they should only look at jobs that are posted. Well, first of all, posted jobs half the time are filled. The company didn't take it down. So a company like LinkedIn or any other career portal site, job site, they will gladly take your money every 30 days to keep refreshing that post without telling you.
So how do you know company, so what you're saying is those could be coming down. How do you know then that there's jobs
so you have to go through LinkedIn. You have to look for people. You have to see what's going on with companies. You have to network. The job market, a lot of it's a hidden job market, okay? So leveraging just tools like Built in Chicago. We're in Chicago. Built in Chicago is a great publication that helps you see what companies are hiring, what companies are growing, what companies are making acquisitions. Even companies that are downsizing, that doesn't mean they're not hiring.
Right.
Every job market is hard. So first of all, again, kind of taking a step back, a big mistake is not networking. Number 2 is thinking the only way to find a job is to apply. That is not the only way. Number 3, a huge mistake people make is that they don't realize it's not about themselves. It's hiring is selfish. Nobody's going to hire you to help you get your experience, to get the hours you need for credits for your summer school requirement, whatever it may be. Companies hire you based on what you bring to them. Okay. So again, thinking about sports analogy, say the Cubs have to hire a pitcher. They're not thinking like, yay, Neil wants to play for the Cubs. They're thinking Neil can throw curveballs and come in. We need a lefty that has a 95 mile an hour, curveball. So it's, what are you going to do for us? And being able as a candidate to communicate, what's your value proposition, right? If you're hiring a stylist, it's great that they want to work for you, but what are they going to do for you and your business? Are they going to provide the quality that you expect? Are they going to have the relationships with the customers?
My business is a little bit different because I do not hire stylists from the outside. First of all, because they want too much money. They come up with a clientele and they say, hey, I want that. I'm not about to do that. So what we do is we go to school, we train them, we put them into a training program, we give them the opportunity I wish my son had with no experience.
It's different in corporate America.
To train him the business, put him in the floor, start building up a clientele, and then all of a sudden he's getting busy, and there is the salon next door who's struggling, who's going to call my guy and say, hey, look, you have 50%, I give you 75%. The kid's going to look at us and, 50, 75, 50, 75. I love Pascal, he's great, but 75 sounds way better than 50. So what I'm saying to you is when you look into the job market, okay, money is what drives people to make a move.
Not always. You're not in corporate America. So
don't agree with you.
Well, you can disagree.
We agree to disagree.
I help hire professionals all the time. And in the HR community, we know what's driving people to make decisions.
Yeah, it's quality of life a lot of times.
And a lot of times it's growth opportunities.
Yes.
So your world is different than, let's say, a head of PR, a head of communications, marketing, HR, finance. When you have a growth ceiling in a company, a lot of times people will be interested in looking at, okay, here's how I can grow further. People want to be challenged. People want to feel like they're doing something that matters, especially talking about, the younger generation. The world you and I came from is really kind of when people started moving careers more, right? And moving companies more.
Yeah.
Before us,
someone would be at a company 30 years, and that would be your life.
And then you retire.
And you retire and you get your benefits.
And now people move every couple of years, right?
Oh,
I mean,
every couple of years?
Yes.
Easily.
Yeah, easily.
Now, it's not always good to do, right? So one of the things we consult people on a lot is you can't make a move this quickly without raising some red flags.
Yeah, if somebody's got a resume, he's got 10 jobs in the last 5 years,
it's very
unsettling, hire that person.
Right?
It depends on where you are in your career. So going back to these kids coming out of college, I think it's critical for them to have 2 years at a place, right? Or something
I
like that.
would
Okay. What do you
highly recommend.
Yes. Right.
And you want to pick a place where you're going to get great foundational training. So that's something that's really important. I'm sure for your son, that is going to be really helpful to him, is to have that foundational, fundamental training where he can then leverage that in the future. But I promise you, your son's going to get phone calls from a lot of people like me, maybe not me, because we don't do a lot of entry level, but there's going to be people who are going to try to talk to him about what's his career strategy, his plan, and help him map it out.
Yeah, I don't disagree with you. Right now, he's an entry level. He's in the process of passing his license 7.
Oh, good. Series 7.
Series 7. And then after that, there is a couple of the license. So he's planning to pass all the license. And I said to him, after you get all those licenses, now you are much more marketable than you were when you were looking for a
100%.
job. So I think that's all that. But the question I have is more like the pre-golden and golden years of looking for a job. We have tendency to been doing things we've been doing for 30 years. We're doing it well, but we're a little bit bored. We want a little bit more challenges. How difficult it is to recycle yourself when you reach that type of age, the pre-golden and the golden. I mean, I have a friend of mine who is 62 years old who's struggling to find a job. Because they're going to hire a kid like my son and give him $25,000 instead of hiring him at 62 and give him $75,000. So what is the challenge of those pre-golden and golden years of changing career? How often do they change careers?
Well, I don't think there's any magic number, but what I would say is that as far as everybody's in different situations financially, if you're going to career pivot, if you're going to really change careers, not just companies, but careers, you need to be ready to take a step back.
Right.
You have to, because you're not going to go from making, if you've been in the workforce for, let's say, 20 years, you're making 6 figures typically, depending on what career you're in. But you've got to be ready to take a step back. And you have to be strategic about it. So I often talk about sidestepping. For example, if you've been in, let's say, marketing, okay, and you want to get into HR. Well, HR, depending on the company, can do a lot with marketing because posting positions, there's a huge marketing aspect.
Employee communications is marketing to employees.
Exactly. So how do you maybe partner with HR
Yeah.
and start kind of trying to
Lay that groundwork.
Exactly. Lay that groundwork, start to make that transition. You have to be careful. There's politics in every company, right? So it's very hard, but it's not impossible.
Yeah.
But one of the things when people hire us to do career coaching is we talk about, who can you talk to inside to help you start making that transition, making it known without them thinking you're compromising on the quality of the work you're producing, right? Inside your role in marketing.
Yeah.
Does that?
Yeah. I've often said too, or had read, that it's not the ladder anymore. It's the jungle gym or something. The idea that you're not climbing anymore. You're sort of just moving around and hopefully getting higher and higher. But there are skills you need to zag to get before you can zig over here. And so I think if our younger people could know that, and then as you're saying, Pascal, folks who are more in that mid area, life, who are looking to make a pivot or make a change, can understand that they need to also get some new skills or maybe take a different job. Yeah.
And that's a big thing, is getting those new skills.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people who get complacent, and you can't blame them.
Yes.
Right? They've been busy. If they're, let's say, in our age range,
they've been grinding for years.
Right.
What do you
You've
mean?
been raising kids. So you do your day job, you work your tail off, you've got kids, you've got to schlep places or go to their things, whatever it is that they're doing. And your night, you're not necessarily able to plug back in quickly. And then when you do, you're catching up on your day stuff, right? You don't necessarily have time to take a class or brush up on a new skill. I mean, you know how many people we talk to who are in our generation and they don't know how to use AI?
Yeah.
Right? They don't know how to use social media. They don't know, they haven't had to. But it's getting those skills so that you're ready when you want to make that move, that you have the ability to leverage technology tools.
Yeah. I think the technology is definitely the future, but I think when I look at again, and I'm talking about the young generation, okay, there is a code or a resume, there is a certain language you have to be able to send your resume because AI are reading it. And if they don't like the word, they reject that.
Right. Yeah.
Because I know my son had to hire somebody to write his resume to basically get ahead of AI. So I think, to me, technology is wonderful, but it's a challenge for the young and the older generation because we don't know how to use it. But also, I think what people are looking at is benefit. They want their healthcare. They want their 401k participation. And then when you have a company who's offering you all those benefits, and then you have the pressure of college, paying college and mortgages and life insurance and car payment, you might not like what you like, but you stick with it because
of course,
it's it's scary.
The golden handcuffs in many cases.
That's what it is. The golden
handcuffs. We all understand that. You're absolutely right. And I think it's really important for people to recognize you can't always have it all. I hate to say that. But it's true. You
can't have it all? I want it all.
Well, not everybody.
We know you do.
I want the whole package. I want everything,
We can't always do that. But, going back to, and again, we're kind of bouncing around, but going back to your kid, your son, sorry. One of the things that I think, unfortunately, our children, mine included, going through COVID, they learn to kind of sit back and do everything online.
Yes.
And pushing our kids to get out. You can't just rely on your resume going through a portal. We have to get out. We have to go to events. We have to sign up for things. We have to get meetings. And, one of the mistakes one of my kids was making, he was asking everyone for lunch. And I'm like, people don't have time for lunch. Right. You just ask for 5 minutes, ask for 10 minutes, go to their office. You cannot just sit behind a computer. And I'm not saying your son did this, but just pressing
No,
send.
and I think that's great. I think too many times I've talked to some younger people who have sent out resumes and it's sort of, they've applied and it's like now they're just sort of waiting.
Can't do that.
But here's the thing though, what do you think about the fact that a lot of these companies are not even interviewing in person, even when we're in the same town? They're still doing the Zoom interviews or this new recorded interviews. I don't know if you've had a lot of experience with those, or if your son did.
Zoom.
Yeah, it was Zoom, but they have this new.
Story.
They have a new thing where it's an automated interview.
Yeah,
and it's video.
Yes.
It's a video
recorded.
Zoom. It's funny because my son said, I get a Zoom interview. I said, okay, great. I said, Maxime, I want you to wake up. I want you to take a shower, do your hair, put your suit, put your tie, put your pants, and be prepared. And he said, Dad, why do I need that? It's on Zoom. I said, Maxime, I'm telling you, I have the experience, blah, blah, blah. He said, I'm not good. I said, Maxime, I want you to wear a suit. He goes to his interview and he starts talking to the lady and she said, could you please stand up and back up?
No.
That
love
is
this.
awesome.
Could you please stand up
That
and
is
back
awesome.
up? So my son stand up and back up. He was wearing a suit.
Yes.
And he said, Dad, how did you know? I said, because that's what I will do. I don't want you to be on your underwear and wearing a jacket.
You must have been so like, I'm the man when he came to you and said that was the
but
case.
I think to me, presentation, showing
everything.
readiness
Of course.
is important.
Of
And
course.
those kids today, when my son was in Zoom in classes, he was in his underwear, he had his T-shirt, and he was doing his classes. So I think
But I love that person called
stand
it
up
out. Yes.
and go back.
I'm shocked
And the guy
about
stand up
that.
and go back. He said, thank you very much. And they wanted to see if he was
What
ready
about
for the job.
My husband was talking to one of our friends' sons about an interview that they had, and he was talking about setting up to have a nice background.
Oh, yeah.
And sort of, because some kids I've interviewed before on the opposite side, they
The bed
have
is not made.
they're in front of their bed, or
The bathroom
just have a
is-
background,
It's
a good
awful.
background, or like. So do you coach on that as well? If they're not
Yes.
thinking about that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Again, because of
lighting.
the age range we're in, we have spent so much time working with people's children. And to your point, you were so smart. And
So
by the
smart.
way, in the book,
Don't tell Pascal he's smart, but he has a
Jenny,
big head.
You should know by now I'm smart enough.
I know.
So in the book, I
Yes.
talk about everything you need to know you learned as a kid. And it talks about dress nicely.
Yes.
Right? So to your point, like
that.
this is something we need to tell our kids. Don't Zoom in front of a bed,
Right.
first of all. But if you have to, can you please
Make
make
the
it,
bed.
Right.
Make
right.
it
Make the bed.
Or crop
comb
up
your
the
hair,
laptop,
right?
and so that it's
all
nice.
of it.
Okay. So all of
And
that.
just
Yeah.
learning to have a face-to-face, like eye-to-eye conversation. There's so many little details that make such a difference. And again, that's one of the gifts of this book is I've seen so many of the mistakes people make.
Yes.
And they're simple, easy to fix. But if you don't know,
Right.
how many kids do we know that say like every other word, like, or they have upspeak. They end every sentence with a question, and or they say, they don't know how to say thank you in a thank you note. They don't know how to write. There's so many different.
There's a lot of things that we take for granted that our kids
they write
that our
like,
kids don't know.
like
Right.
texting, right? As if texting, and you can't. You have to learn to write properly. There's just a million things that 2 hours with us, kids and adults, there's just nothing better than getting proper training and preparation. And so we can figure out, what are you doing right? What are you doing wrong? What can you fix? How many kids, going back to these kids we're helping, say, I was awesome. There's nothing I could have done different.
Yeah, I mean,
Really?
they all said that. They all
Right.
said that.
Really?
Right. I also love the idea, and I don't know where you are on this, but of the practice. So a mock interview. And if you have, I don't know if you've done this with your son, but we go through some potential questions and just, again, not to memorize your answers, but more to
Be
just
ready.
get comfortable with
Right.
what you
But
might say.
I think to me, we have a concept in Europe is what we call a professional orientation. When the kid goes, before he goes to college, we look at his grade and see if he has the potential to succeed in college or he's going to fail because based on what he's done in the previous years. And so we guide them to being a plumber, an electrician, a carpenter. And as you know, those jobs today are very much in demand because that old generation who come from the old country who was doing the plumbing, the electricity, the ventilation, and stuff like that, they're gone. And you have no idea how much money those guys are making. I mean,
it's
a
huge.
plumber, you call a plumber, you got a leaking faucet, it's $500.
Oh, are you
just
kidding?
for him to come up. So to me, I think we need to reshift a little bit before we send them to college, before we spend that $250,000 on college education. We need to reevaluate a little bit the young generation and look at what they're good at and give them an opportunity to have a trade.
I think those technical universities seem to be on the rise.
Definitely, they are. They are. Actually. That's
Mike
what I'm talking about. Yeah.
Dirty Jobs, Mike Rowe.
Yes, yeah.
A huge proponent of this and has invested millions. And I am talking about this all the time. Because especially with AI now, being able to take over, a couple years ago, 10 years ago, it was code. Everybody learned how to code. Now it is those
back to the manual job.
Absolutely, because there's no AI that's going to come fix
AI is not going to cut
toilet.
hair.
Are you kidding?
Right.
The plumber is the hero.
AI is not going to apply code.
Right. Or the HVAC guy
Right, the HVAC,
or
right,
gal.
right.
There is definitely a renaissance of going back to those jobs.
There is a stigma being a blue collar, and I think people don't want to say, why am I going to fix a air conditioning unit? Why am I going to fix a leaking toilet? And I think we have to go over that and realize those 100%. Are very, very important jobs. And sometimes college is not the answer of the future career.
Completely agree.
You know, I got a guy who came up, who decided to go into a mechanic and start learning how to fix up car. Now he's got his body shop and he's making a fortune.
Oh my gosh.
And he loves what he
Absolutely.
does. So to me, I think we need to reevaluate the young generation and say, hey, look, there is this, and this. Don't just tell my parents said, you got to go to college, you got to graduate, you got to have a college degree. And you know what? College degree is not always the answer.
Right. Maybe a degree in something and an understanding. I completely agree with you. I think that...
You agree with me, Jimmy?
I do agree with you. I always agree with you. I love that. What my question is, in terms of you talking to these companies and helping the companies, what has changed about how they're approaching the search? Are they looking for different types of candidates in today's times? Has anything come up that you could share from that perspective? Any secrets?
It's a mixed bag.
Yes.
So first of all, just really quick, going back to your point, my HVAC guy, he's got a lake house. He's got
a boat.
Right.
I mean, he's doing well. So I think part of that stigma is on us to let it go, right? To no longer push kids to get the degrees. And I will tell you, a ton of companies are placing way more emphasis on state schools than like the Ivies.
Yes.
Okay. So that is welcome news to many of us. As far as what companies are prioritizing, it's so different. And we work with startups, early stage startups to Fortune 50s. So early stage startups, it's going to be prioritizing like someone who's willing to do grunt work and do it all, wear lots of hats, work crazy amount of hours, but because they're passionate about the mission, about the company, about the vision, a lot of times they'll have equity in lieu of as high of a compensation. As far as just how companies are approaching recruiting, I know you were talking about the video interviews.
Yes.
So we're very fortunate. We're selective of who we work with. We will not work with companies that place a priority on that.
Okay.
Because to us, you're not meeting the person, right? Sitting behind a camera is awkward. It's not human. It's very difficult to really get to know someone when you do that. So we're fortunate we get to say no thanks to companies that have a certain process. I mean, there's some companies who want to do 15-minute interviews. If we're presenting you someone who's making $150,000 a year and you want to, and we've spent hours and hours and hours vetting that candidate, and we are comfortable enough and excited enough to present that person. If you're going to do a 15-minute interview, then either A, you don't trust us, or you don't respect the candidate.
Right. And you've been doing this a long time, so you're able to do that. So I'm curious, so you have been doing this for almost 20 years, you were saying. So when did this germ of this idea for this other book come about? We want to talk about this other book.
So my own career pivot a little bit.
Yeah.
So
show
the Adventures of Nana Z. And Pascal knows my mom, who this is loosely based on.
Yeah.
So I've always loved to write. Writing has always been somewhat of a therapeutic thing for me. Starting your own company, raising kids, you need sometimes to decompress. And so I would start writing. And really kind of how this book took shape. My mom, as you know,
love you, Mom,
is a little crazy, like in a good way. Okay.
Right.
So she has tattoos. She goes skydiving, drives race cars. And the stories she would tell my kids, my boys, when they were young, would make them like crack up. They loved Nana's stories. So couple that with the fact that when my oldest was in second grade, my mom was a mystery reader. And in the class for the week leading up...
If your mom was a lawyer, am I right?
She worked for a law firm. She worked for a law firm.
Yeah,
a big law firm, right. Okay. So there were clues given all week. This is someone's grandma. This grandma has tattoos. This grandma's been arrested. This grandma
oh my gosh,
went
I love
skydiving.
It. Yes.
And when they realized it was Matthew's grandma, everybody was like in love with my mom. And she was the most requested mystery reader. So the kids kept asking the teacher, bring her back, bring her back. And when kids would come over, is your Nana going to be at your house? They wanted her stories. So we would joke about different stories that my mom would tell. And we would be in situations where we'd be like, oh my God, could you imagine what Nana would do in that situation? And so the book just started to kind of take shape. Yeah. And after publishing my other book, the one about job searching and interviewing, at the age we're at, we've lost a few friends. Life is short. And my husband said,
just
finish it.
Right.
Finish it. It's a bucket list item for you. Take a sabbatical, finish it. And so that's what I did. And I published it, and it's been out for a little while. And in a perfect world, it's going to be a series.
Yes.
And, we talked about... we talked about, giving back and being part of a mission is something that's so important to a lot of people. In the book, that's always been important to us. My family has always done a lot of charity. So we donate a portion of our fees in our search firm to a charity or to lots of charities, but one in particular we highlight. And in the Nana Z book, we've partnered with a charity. So the first book, there's a storyline in here about an animal shelter. And so I'm partnered with an animal shelter in Evanston, donating a portion of all of the revenue from book sales, as well as doing events together to help animals get adopted. The second book will partner with an autism charity.
So where could you find that book? Where would you buy that book?
On Amazon.
On Amazon?
Yeah, on Amazon.
What I love about this is how you are sort of, you mentioned your mom is sort of the archetype for this, but that it's with it, you're redefining the grandmother.
Yeah.
And so talk a little bit about that and why that's important. I mean, I understand it's based on your mom, but also just for kids to sort of see a grandmother in a different way and why that's important.
Absolutely. Yeah. I think there's a bit of a lack of respect to seniors sometimes.
Agreed.
And I think sometimes people don't recognize enough how much vibrancy they bring. And
knowledge they bring.
Knowledge, a ton of knowledge. And so, not only is this loosely based on my mom, it's also loosely based on my dad. My dad's very quiet. He's not in the middle of things, whereas Nana is. But my dad has unbelievable advice and knowledge, right? And a grandparent's love, there's something so special about that bond. But it's also, some kids aren't fortunate to have grandparents. There's still value that a friend who's older, right? So like my kids' friends loved hanging with my mom. So there's some value there. And I think just really highlighting what seniors bring to different just parts of our lives, right?
I love it.
It's and one of the challenges for our kids today, one of the reasons why literacy rates are so low, is kids are on electronics all the time. And my boys, thankfully, were involved in outside activities. They're athletes. But getting them off electronics and getting them to love reading, you know, I was raised, we read, right?
Yeah.
Judy Blume, we read, we talked.
Judy Blume books.
And
I agree. I also just love just storytelling and that grandparents tell stories and this idea of what you can sort of learn from that. But like you said, there just isn't a lot of that time that happens. So I think what a really cool idea.
It's a really fun, funny.
But you know what? The young generation, you know, like my son generation and maybe a little bit younger, they don't understand what we were, our generation, when we were their kid. How do we play? How do we handle things? How do we communicate? What were we doing for fun? I mean, I walk into my salon and I see all my employees when they're not busy on their phone. You know, I mean, I remember we had no that. We were talking. So I think that young generation doesn't understand how we were before. And to be quite honest with you, I think if I go back, I prefer our times than I prefer this time. I prefer the dining with communication and getting to know each other than everybody on their cell phone. And to get back to one question you said before about the in-person, Jamie and I like to have our guests in the studio because we feel the energy, we look in the eyes versus the Zoom. We believe very strongly that it is important for her to have our guests sitting in the sofa with us, because we know we feel you, we understand you, we're looking at the eyes, versus a Zoom. I think it's impersonal. It's sad that the society become to that.
Yeah, it would be easier for us to just do Zoom guests. Be able to talk
I mean, we could have guests all over the place.
But we aren't doing that because we love this idea and sort of getting back to that real relational, opportunity.
100%.
Yeah. So,
but I know you, Mom. I love you, Mom. I love her very much. I've been cutting her hair for years.
She loves
I've
you
always
too.
enjoyed her coming and telling me stories and stories.
Well, you get her voice.
I sit with her, and when she comes here, I actually take more time because, we have a special bond.
Totally.
And she loves it short, and she always tried to keep her hair longer, and then she come up and said, why did I wait that long? I said, because you always do that, Kate.
Right. Well, it's so funny because in the book, one of the stories is my mom literally has always kept a picture in her wallet of a woman with long, wavy hair, because in her next life, she thinks God will be more likely to bring her back looking like that. Because she always has wanted long hair, but you do make her look so much better with short hair. But she's so much
Isn't
better.
that too, though, that idea why when you're a grandma or you hit a certain age that you all of a sudden have to cut your hair? I don't think you do.
Know what?
She needs to.
I think when you get to a certain age, I think long gray hair is not as attractive as shorter gray hair.
Okay.
I just think that's basically what it is. And
you are the expert.
We have tendency to say, longer we are, sexier we are. I don't agree with that. We don't agree with that in our salon. I believe then it's what fits you as a person, and it's what you feel in your face.
Yeah.
I mean, I just think then, there is some people look very good with short hair, some people don't.
Right. No, and I love that of being able to do what you want to do. I just think that there was this sort of older social norm or this norm or convention that we all sort of, you become a mom and you cut your hair into this shoulder length.
Right.
Or, you know what I mean? I think that's gone away for the most part, especially for us, but grandmothers too.
But I think you could do something on hair. Thinning hair, because that's all the rage now. Maybe
people have asked us to do an episode on hair, and you have not.
I think next time, maybe in the future, because we have a lot of guests booked ahead. But I think it'd be nice to have one of my top stylists coming up, and
Love
talk
that.
to a little bit about the trend and what is the challenge of fine hair. What product could you use to make your hair grow bigger, faster? I mean, there is so many up there.
I mean, hair loss. It's
hair
like
loss.
every
That is really
product
big.
is on
Right.
hair loss right
Yeah,
now.
I mean,
I was just talking with a friend yesterday that we were talking about how long we go without our hair being washed. And I used to be able to go a really long time, like maybe a whole week. But now I can't go maybe a day. In older age, my hair is thin, so I can't really go long.
We'll have
Yeah,
a podcast about hair colors
I
and
think we need
and
that,
the industry
though.
of the beauty industry.
Anyone else not want to wash their hair every day like me? I hate
Right.
it.
No,
Yeah.
for real, hair is like we need your expertise.
But you know what? Hair is the crown you wear every day.
Exactly, and with it
You know, I mean, I
thinning
think
and
hair
age,
defines
and
you.
I'm noticing the hair on Nana Z.
Yes.
up in-
Nana
up in-
very-
Nana's got funky hair all the
right,
time.
right,
Yeah.
She's got very funky.
Yeah.
very
For people that
trendy
can't hear this, but you'll hopefully see a picture. It's sort of up in a.
It's a faux hawk.
Coif.
It's a
Yeah, we could
faux
just-
hawk.
A
So
faux hawk.
in the book, now
Ooh,
my
wait.
mom doesn't really have a faux hawk.
Okay.
But in the book,
Yes.
Nana Z has a faux hawk and changes hairstyle and color frequently.
Oh, okay.
Which makes it's
Yeah.
just part of the adventurous nature
You know,
of her.
You also have the senior citizens who some of them was fortunate to make a good living and able to travel
Right.
and be full of knowledge from all over the world. And you get the one who didn't go and struggle and and pay the bill and never been anywhere, who doesn't have the experience. So there is that different of class who becomes so apart than he was before. I
Right.
think,
Right.
You see some people who's traveled the world in your mom's age, and you some people who's never left the country in your mom's age.
Well, and where my mom grew up in central Illinois, so different, right? So when you hear about like what we were talking about when we grew up and how that time was interesting, there's something so sweet about their time too.
Oh,
yeah.
Sunday was family day.
Dinner around the table,
Yes.
everybody was there.
And for my mom, dinner was
breaking
like
bread.
like at noon.
Yeah.
That was supper.
Yeah.
I'm like, what?
I know that is
Right?
crazy.
But that it's really interesting. And so hearing their stories
Yeah.
and trying to kind of get back into how they're simple in a different way. Still very complicated, but yeah, there's something so nice about
Yeah,
that.
like my son said, you want to have dinner? I say, yes, about 10 o'clock at night.
Right. You.
Oh my
You're
gosh,
definitely
it's
not
that.
on that
No.
early
That's
trend.
when he's nice. That's what he's
Yeah.
dinner time is 10 o'clock.
There's
Right.
a new trend though that people are going to dinner at like 5 and 5:30. Not just
That's
older people, but more younger people.
Seriously?
Yes.
Yeah,
I
because
don't
of
know.
health.
that.
Because of health system.
I like to be
health-
done
for,
eating
like,
now.
digestion?
Yeah, exactly.
Yes, I
The
think
digestion,
so.
because they take
My
about
sister
3-4
goes
hours,
very early when she
Yeah,
goes
particularly
out.
as you get older, it takes you longer to digest.
I think so. I think so. We
God.
should get on that.
So
So we have to wrap up, but I
Okay.
want to ask one
Yes.
final question, which
Yes.
is how do you? So now that you've written this book that was
Yes.
sort of germinating for a while, like how do you feel about it, and what do you say to someone else who might be thinking of doing something and they haven't done it yet?
So how I feel
Yeah.
about it is
Yeah.
great. I mean, it's like you've started a podcast. It's great. It's I tell my kids to follow their dreams. Now, you can't always be just anything you want to
Right.
be, right? But follow your dreams
Yes.
and work hard. Hard work pays off.
Yeah.
So I'm able to say, like, I did that. What I'm telling you to do, I did it. So I feel great about that. It's such a funny, like every kid who's read it loves it.
Great.
And I don't know all of them. So it's not just like friends. It's,
No, of course
they
not. Yeah.
love it. And so I feel great about that. So yeah, and then, from a going forward perspective, my mantra is see it, believe it, make it. So I saw it, I believed in it, and I made it happen. And as we are older and kind of straddling the fence of, different careers, I think, hard work is everything.
But I've always said to my son, when he said, I want to make money, I said, you know what? I said, Maxime, don't look at the money. Look at the dream. Look at what makes you happy. What if you're happy doing what you're doing, you will be successful. With success, money comes in. I said, but don't try to chase money, because somebody who chase money would never find it. The guy who chase a dream, sometimes you enjoy to do like we did with your book. This is a dream. This is our dream.
This is. I know.
It.
And we have one life to live, we think.
Exactly.
So, like, let's just do it.
We're not looking at to be rich on it. We're not looking at to make money. We're looking at because we have fun.
We're just having the best time.
Exactly.
Between our arguments.
But don't forget to subscribe. Don't forget to subscribe, okay?
Yes.
Click the little button.
Don't worry about the money. Subscribe.
Right. No, we do. We need some
To
subscribers.
subscribe. I think we're doing very well.
We are. We hit our threshold.
Wow,
but we need. I know we've hit a big milestone for the show, and you're on our.
Well, let me know what I can do.
But thank you. Well, spread the word and subscribe and let us know. Right, and let us know if you have any questions, and we will see you in our hometown.